Most of you know me, I'm Tom Ashcraft. I'm the MFA director here in the School of Art and Design. Welcome. We have the last, say best for last, right?
Oh my God.
Liz Trader-Williams, who is based in Asheville and is the last of our speaker series for the semester. I guess I've known you for 7 years, something like that, through Revolve, or being familiar with Liz's work. And their multidisciplinary practice and activism is very, very interesting. I'm going to read a little bit about their bio, and then I'll turn it over to Liz. So thank you very much for joining us today. Liz currently is the creative director of the Southern Equity Studios campaign for Southern Equity, and is a multidisciplinary artist. Has over 15 years of experience blending photography, digital media, graphic design, specializes in exploring themes of identity, community, and resistance within the LGBTQ plus and BIPOC communities, expertise in leading lots of public art initiatives, community-based workshops, Artivism, which I love that term, by the way, projects, and a real strong commitment to social justice. The thread that runs through all of Liz's work, I believe. An amazing collaborator is working right now with Jeannie on a project, and Jillian on a project in Asheville.
I'm helping them.
Oh, you're helping them, okay. Support.
You're part of the crew. Congratulations.
That's right, you're part of it now. Professional experience is that the MakeMeSomeArt.com is the founder of that, which is also the title of their website. Let's see, Liz also has many awards and recognitions. I don't know how to pronounce it, the TZEDIC Impact Award. I looked it up, it's pretty interesting. It honors individuals who have engaged in systems of change or community healing within the Asheville region. And then she's been a recipient of the Center for Craft Futures Fund, and a PIC grant recipient. What is that?
It was the Click Photography Festival that they had in Durham. I received a grant to participate in it during 2021.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I kind of looked around, but there's so many things that have that acronym, you know, it's like, oh, in Portland, you know, anyway. Many exhibitions, Revolve, which I mentioned, which is the art project space that has been part of Colton Caldwell's, founded that in about 10 years ago in Asheville. Durham's Quick Photography Festival, Black Mountain College Museum, and the Asheville Art Museums and Collection. And it goes on and on, it's very impressive. Atlanta Contemporary Art, and Liz received an undergraduate, a Bachelor of Fine Arts from Francis Marion University in Florence, South Carolina in graphic design, and has a couple of professional degrees in graphic design and digital media from regional colleges and organizations in the area. So thank you again for joining us, and welcome, Liz. And I'll turn the. Let's see. Okay.
All right. Can people hear me okay?
Oh, you're first.
I pressed the green.
Okay, good.
Let me see if I do this. Hello. Okay, all right. Well, hi everybody. My name is Liz Williams Trader, or Liz Trader-Williams. It's interchangeable. I'm trying things out. I use the pronouns she, they, and I'm so excited to be here. This is my first time being a visiting artist, so thank you for having me. This has been an incredibly inspirational and educational experience, and I hope that it's not the first of last experiences. So I feel as though I went towards graphic design in school, but I have always had a love for photography. So there's going to be a lot of photography featured in here, as well as a little bit of graphic design and a little bit of some video work that has been like a new passion of mine. So I hope that y'all don't mind all of the little videos. Okay, so I just want to get started with kind of a story of how I got started with photography. I'm basically, I would say mostly an introvert with like a little bit of an extrovert in me. I think it's because of 10 years working at a customer service job at Whole Foods. It will do that to you. So before that happened, before I started working at Whole Foods, I was in high school, like all of us, I guess, I don't know. But I was in high school, and the introvert in me was trying to find a different medium, and I have ADHD, and so I instantly gravitate towards things that have like a little bit of instant gratification. So when digital photography came about, and I did not have the funds to create analog film photography, I definitely was like, yes, let's see what I can do with that. Especially because I was learning a little bit about Photoshop as well, so if I could merge those two elements, that would be incredibly exciting. So I'm going to show you my first shot. It was with a Sony, I believe it's a Konica. It's kind of like a chunky, horrible camera. They used a floppy disk for the memory. And if y'all don't know what a floppy disk is, it's like a floppy CD that's used inside of the camera instead of a little memory card. So I'm only 38, and that's my kids. So here's the photo, my first photo with the digital camera. I was trying to capture somebody doing an ollie from far away because I was a little bit of an introvert, like I mentioned. But I still kept the drive to keep going forward and tried to learn a little bit on how to make things better. Luckily, this wasn't my personal camera. This was the school's library's camera, which is amazing. Another reason why I love libraries. And I would say that I was able to finally get somewhat decent cameras while I was in high school, like a little Kodak camera that you could put in your pocket. And through that, and a little bit of my shyness, I started to explore like self-portrait expression and just kind of going into my weird, fantastical mind in ways because, I thought that I was born the year of the tiger, but then I went to the library 2 months ago when I was pet sitting for Jeannie, and I found out that I'm actually the year of the ox. My identity is totally thrown through a loop. That's why I have this tiger mask here, and this is me like hanging out by myself in a park in Columbia, South Carolina, which is where I grew up. But I was not born in Columbia, South Carolina. I was born in Los Angeles, and I moved to Columbia with my mom because my grandmother, she had Alzheimer's, and my mom was coming to help take care of her along with my uncle. And if you haven't gone to Columbia, don't. I really couldn't stand it. It has, the vibe is racist, ignorant. When I was there from 1990 until around 2006, they had a barbecue chain, Maurice's Barbecue, that had a gigantic Confederate flag on top of its chain of restaurants. And we also had the Steakhouse that had the gigantic Confederate flag on top of its building. So like that's the vibe that you're getting just silently. Like maybe people want to call you outside your name, but you can kind of see like this is what they stand for. In 2007, actually they had it up until 2014 after this amazing activist, Bree Newsom, she climbed the flagpole and she like took it down from the grounds. So that was awesome, and it's a shame that it took that long to realize maybe we should try to move forward in life and not hold on to these articles of hatred and ignorance. But that's Columbia. Also, it's incredibly hot, so don't go there during the summertime. Anyway, I was the only queer kid that I knew, so I didn't really have that much community to hang out with when it came to feeling like safe. I think that I probably, through my tomboy aesthetic, maybe had signals to my straight friends that I was queer, but they were nice about it, but still, there's definitely a disconnect when you can't find safe spaces to talk about how you're going through this journey of adolescence and teendom. So yeah, this is me just hanging out by myself doing some self-portraits. Oh gosh, I didn't realize I rambled so much. Anyway, luckily I moved out of Columbia, South Carolina, and I moved to Athens, Georgia. And I utilized photography as a means to like connect with people when I went to parties because I'm a little shy, and so I was able to do that through high school and make weird Photoshop images of people, and that's kind of like how I endeared myself to folks. And when I moved to Athens, Georgia, I actually utilized that same tool, the camera, and I wound up taking a photo of my future wife, who I've been married to since 2014. So I think that's like so wild when you think about these times with technology and how it actually has caused so many divisions with people, even like just from dating apps. But that's another story for another time. So anyway, this is my wife Amanda in a party where I first met her in Athens. Another reason why I really love photography is because I do not have that great of memory, and so and it's kind of like a sensitive spot for me, especially because of my grandmother having Alzheimer's, so it's just like kind of like a spotty situation, but I think also it was a survival tool that I had to not necessarily remember things, so to be able to go back to the time that I met my wife and like have this image, it's such a comfort to like know that there are tools to help me when I'm feeling that neurodivergent gift and curse. So we moved to Asheville in 2010, and it's been pretty idyllic for the most part. We have this beautiful cat, Nico, meow meow, and we also have another cat, Molly. It's just Molly. And yeah, I basically was working at Whole Foods from 2010 until I want to say 2020. And during that time, I was mostly just doing some fun photos for folks, as well as like taking photos of my cat. And these are some of the other photos I've taken within my queer community. And it's been nice to know that I don't have to bring a camera to a party to feel safe and seen. And I really appreciate the community I've been able to incorporate the other aspects of art. So that takes me to 2018. I was doing a lot of fun, frivolous, silly things with art, but I saw that Campaign for Southern Equality, they had, which is an LGBTQ org based in Asheville, but we have like 22 people who are throughout the US, and we try to focus on creating different areas of means of equality, lived equality, legal equality. Like we have people who are creating grants for folks in need, as well as like creating court cases against really harmful and hateful laws. And it was really cool to be able to like participate with this summer series design contest, and it was for Pride, so I just made this little simple design, Let Your Pride Always Shine. And this is Mason York, who is a letterpress artist, and she created this letterpress version of my design that won, and that was like the first opening of a road that I didn't even consider would be possible. And so that road led me to doing more collaborations with Campaign for Southern Equality, like with commissions, and eventually I was invited to be a resident artist with them, which was amazing because they don't usually do that, and they were starting up this project called Southern Equality Studios, which initially was just like a one-day program, or one-day project event that was at Center for Craft, and that was before I was invited. And
when they invited me to be the artist in resident, they wanted me to see how I can incorporate community art into their work. And community art stems from cultural democracy, which emphasizes cultural expression by individuals and communities post-World War II. It aims to democratize culture, making art accessible to all, bridging high and low culture divides. So basically, like, trying different ways to bring in art for people to feel empowered through activism. And some of the ways that I've done that were consisted of like murals, as well as like video interviews with folks, having queer artist meetups, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Another thing that we wanted to focus on was social practice and activism, which is a socially engaged practice that can be associated with activism because it often deals with political issues. Artists who work within this field will often spend much time integrating into the specific community which they wish to help, educate, or simply share with. And the artist's aim could be to help this community work towards a common goal, raise awareness, and encourage conversation around issues, or perhaps to improve their physical and psychological conditions. But you can't just like swoop in and think that you know all the answers. So there's this one artist, Rick Lowe, who says, you have to spend years developing relationships. It'd be an arrogant disregard of community to come in and think you can grasp all the complexities of a place in a short time. And that is something that we try to focus on, especially when we realize that in order to have a socially engaged practice that encompasses artistic endeavors that facilitates dialogue, collaboration, social interaction with communities, especially the LGBTQ community, we actually need to know LGBTQ members and especially artists. And I was invited for this artist residency along with my colleague and friend Al Murray. So there's two people who are going to be artist residents, resident artists, but we don't know any LGBTQ creatives, which was shocking and ridiculous since we are in Asheville. So we made, and that's all right there, the gray shirt. I could have just said gray shirt from here. Anyway, they're really awesome. They're a metal worker, and this is the rest of my team at CSC. And I don't have to say everybody's name, but they're all fantastic. Some people are working with healing and resilience. Some people are working with grants. Some people are working with like schools, supportive schools, and other people are working with like just keeping the comms and keeping the awareness of what we're doing with Campaign for Southern Equality. So it's been really an honor to join them, especially in this artistic shape. So with Al, we created this exhibit called Uprooted. And Uprooted was basically actually digging deeper and saying, I think I know this one queer visual artist, maybe I can go and see if they want to collaborate. And just seeing how we would literally like begin to create like a little mycelium, a little network of queer and trans folks. And Uprooted, the idea was to create work that spoke on people's roots from where they came from and also where they were currently in their place they called home. So Al concentrated on creating metal pieces, kinetic sculptures that kind of illustrated where people came from. And I concentrated on photography and doing portraits where people are feeling uplifted in these spaces. This is a photo of Cortina Caldwell, and it's photographed at the River Arts District. And here are a few more examples of some folks. This is Ronica McLean and Mac McCusker, a ceramic artist, and Ronica is a photographer and writer. And they felt safest, their roots felt safest when Ronica was in her bedroom amongst her beautiful dead roses. And then Mac felt safest when he was by the kiln in the River Arts District, because he's a ceramic artist. This is my wife, and this was during the summertime, so she felt safest when she was in our yard also. knowing that summer's going to end and she'll have to not have all of her time to herself. I think that caused maybe a little bit of resistance, but still, that's one of my favorite photos of her, just drawing in her sketchbook, because she's a visual artist as well. And then just basking in the sun. Okay. And right here is an example of how we had, like, I want to say maybe 10 people participate in the Uprooted exhibit, and it was great. It happened at Revolve, and we didn't just like have photos of people and sculptures of people. We also invited them to bring in their art into the space, because when you build a table, you should invite everybody to it, and we really wanted to highlight everybody's different gifts. And so outside of the Uprooted exhibit, we wanted to continue these connections, and so we started having queer artist meetups, which were really sweet meetups that we had at Revolve, as well as like other locations. We would have these coffee blind dates. Well, they weren't really blind dates, but it was kind of like a coffee date drawing that we would have. So two people who didn't know each other, they would go and have some coffee and get to know each other through their art, and it was really sweet, and I loved it. And through those means, I offered like free headshots for folks, as well as portraits, and these are some of the folks who received a portrait of the sculpture that one of our queer artists, Andrew Snavely, made, and this is for Aaron's. And this is Kat, I forget their last name, I apologize, but they are a writer, and they needed a headshot for their science fiction work. So those are some of the different ways to try to keep those bonds growing within the community, because how can we help each other if we don't help each other? Another thing that was really exciting outside of working with Campaign for Southern Equality, I was invited by Sarah, who was in this photo with the vest on, with the hand like that. Sarah is the director of STEAM Studios at UNCA. And so it was really, thank you, Tom. And Sarah's really awesome and is also good friends with Jeannie. And Jeannie at the time was the director of Skillset, which I think it started as Community Tool School, but basically they reach out to elementary, maybe middle school to high school girls and gender fluid youth, and invite them to work in this shop. People are able to learn how to do welding and how to do woodwork, as well as do engineering with electronics, and it's so awesome. I wish that I had had that opportunity when I was a younger person, but the way that I got plugged in was teaching photography, and teaching the kids how to create their own portraits the way that they want to be represented. Because so often, and I'm sure you all have experienced it, somebody takes your photo and you're like, I hate that photo, but you still see it on social media, and like, my eye is closed and my mouth is agape. But I asked these folks what would they like to have incorporated in their portraits, and one person wanted to be seen as a warrior, while another one just wanted a little element of magic while they were welding. So that's some of the work that I did at Skillset. But I also helped with stop motion animation, as well as I did help a little bit with the video project, but it was mostly photography as well as stop motion animation. But we also did a little bit of activism work with young folks when COVID happened. Going back to my work with CSE, I had the opportunity to go to this gender, queer, trans, inclusive summer camp called Camp Gender Benders, and I was able to create these portraits of people who attended, and it was just so amazing just to be in a space where there's like a summer camp that's for trans and queer people. Like, that's not something that people hear about, especially geared towards adults. So it was really nice to be in community with new people outside of the Asheville, Western North Carolina region, and capture some of their essence and interview them a little bit about what brought them to the camp. Aside from that, I've done a little bit of graphic design work with Campaign for Southern Equality. This was one of the biggest projects that I had in, I think this was 2019. I created this cover that was Southern LGBTQ Health Survey, and it was basically an initiative to see how people felt when it came to healthcare and how they received it. And it was pretty awesome to be a part of this project, especially to be tapped to do graphic design, which is kind of a rusty muscle of mine. And to know that that survey wound up being highlighted by Elizabeth Warren in 2019 was pretty incredible. Because it is true, LGBTQ people need and deserve equitable, gender-affirming, and culturally competent healthcare, no matter where they live. And, well, we didn't get to see the plan for that, but anyway, that was really exciting to see that occur, because I was a fan of Elizabeth. And then COVID happened. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but after COVID occurred and the lockdowns happened, we were not able to meet in person for the Queer Artist Meetup, so we had to pivot like everybody did. And so we went to the Zoom, and we were able to meet up in various ways about various topics involving art, and we also took moments to do a little bit of digital activism. Right now we have a screenshot of a meetup where we just made messages, affirming messages for trans youth, and it was really special. And I'm glad that I was able to have these many people say really special reflections on how they grew up trans and queer, and how they found ways to feel love, and they wanted to share that. Also during COVID, I feel as though a lot of people, they started to, explore the things that they were interested in. And I was working still at Whole Foods and not the one downtown, the one on Tunnel Road, which is a very different clientele. There's kind of like a hippie-ish clientele downtown, but there's more of like a church conservative vibe at the one on Tunnel Road. And to be there during 2020 is a very bizarre time, because you already feel like othered, and then to see like how some people, they totally disregard people's safety with masks, with pushing, cutting, hoarding supplies, treating you less than one day, and then the next day thanking you for being there to bag their groceries. And then as safety protocols increase, they are in a huff when they find out like they have to bag their own groceries. It's just a really weird classist dynamic. And so I created this during that time. You're worth more than you'll ever know. And there's a few other things I was exploring, especially during the Black Lives Matter movement and uprising. It was basically, there was so many times when I just felt like I was at hitting my wall. I'm like, do I want to burn down this whole system? I want to protect myself. Do I want to extend myself and share hope? Like, do I have any hope? There's also this image on the I guess this is your left, right? Yeah. No, it's my left. I'm sorry. Where I'm wearing roses, because there's this one phrase that kept coming to mind, like, give us our roses, and before we're in the ground. And so I was really leaning towards that, as well as feeling kind of like, I don't know, a part of me feels like this is demolition, but another part of me feels like it's a phoenix rising, because like the piss part of me has been activated. So that further fueled my work with CSC, and also exploring like where I am in all of this mess of 2020. Including the self-portraits, we tried to figure out ways to protest within safety, the bounds of safety. And so projections came to mind as a way to amplify that Black Lives Matter, and that people will not be just brushed aside and forgotten, especially folks who are already pushed to the margins and marginalized within the LGBTQ and Black communities. So in various methods, we worked to create projections that illustrated those feelings. Right here, this is a projection from Juneteenth. I'll show a little video of that. And this is on the outside of the Asheville Art Museum, which like the Black Lives Matter image that's on the outside of the museum too. And I'm really proud to say that we have I can look at the screen. Defend Black Lives. I'm really excited that that projection is on the Vance Monument, which is no longer there. So that's pretty cool to be a part of that little snippet of history. And these are just some quotes that people had in regards to, I guess I can do this. In regards to where they were at, Black creators, where they were at during this time on Juneteenth. And that's me talking about it. I forgot this is I think it's an Instagram live. So I'm just gonna, oh, that's Al, okay. And I think Adam, who's the comms person, he's filming it. And also this fist, that's on the City Hall building. No, that's on the courthouse building, next to it, City Hall. And this is another image of George Floyd that I created because I worked on this portrait because I was so disheartened to see that it's just the same photo of him just like against a brick wall. I'm like, really? That's how you want somebody to be remembered? Like repeatedly, I'm like, this guy had an entire life and this is the only image that we have of him that's so iconic. So I tried to bring a little bit of, I feel more respect to him by incorporating roses and a little stellar element to it. Luckily, the March of Time continues and we got to go to a space where we could gather if we're wearing masks. And eventually we were able to gather in different spaces without wearing masks for the Queer Artist meetups, which is really delightful. Although I did bring my mask now, that's because of a different reason, it's not COVID, it's a cold. Anyway, I'm really excited. We've had screen printing meetups. We've had meetups at Steam Studios where we use a laser cutter. We've had some meetups at Emote, which is in Asheville, and it's like a queer and trans-owned vintage, well, I guess you could just call it a clothing store as well as like an art space. And we created some postcards for trans and queer youth, and that's what Bobby's holding up over there. And so, we've also done lino cuts, workshops at Revolve and other different types of gatherings like boat making. And it's just, it's really exciting to realize that being an artist is like such an easily insular experience, and to invite people to like gather and to create together, it's more powerful than people initially believe. But it's been amazing, like those virtual meetups, there are people who moved from Florida to Asheville because they felt more community through this virtual space. That's Brendan right there, who moved from Florida to be closer to Asheville because of these queer artist meetups. We also have somebody who moved from Lima, Peru, all the way from Lima, Peru to Asheville because they felt community. So it's just like, wow, I guess community really does matter, and feeling safe, even within a virtual space, can go so far. This is another example of the Juneteenth projection, and I'll just show a little bit of that. I've been exploring video a little bit more since working in CSC, and so, yeah, hopefully you'll hear the text, but just in case. Black liberation means that I'm completely free in my blackness, expressing myself freely, sexually, creatively, energetically, and spiritually, with no regard for Eurocentric or systemic standards. It's wearing my hair how I see fit, not having to code switch, filling rooms with my authentic self. And that's by Jay House. And this is a photo by Ajax Ravenel. And so these are just some examples of the video work that I've done. I don't think it's on my website, but if you want to see the video work, you can go to you can go to Southern Equality Studios on YouTube, and you can see the videos at your own pace. This is another project that I did in conjunction with the Asheville Art Museum, because initially when I did those projections, like the first few projections during 2020, we did not ask for permission. We just need a space, we just need a spot to highlight how we're feeling with this righteous rage. And so we just projected on Asheville Art Museum. And then after a while, we were like, maybe we should reach out to these artists, since I think maybe it could be a good partnership. So anyway, they reached out to me a few years later to do a community day project, and this is called Don't Forget to Look Up Why I Rebel. And with this project, I worked with different Artists Meetup members to create these images of reasons why they rebel, and we filmed it inside of the Asheville Art Museum, their makerspace.
I rebel because there's no humanity in the status quo. For me, that means that I think the root of a lot of the things that we see happening in society is because there's a genuine lack of concern for human beings and human life in general.
I rebel because everyone is entitled to dignity, and we should all be able to be treated with respect and be able to live the lives that we want to live with so many systems that are at odds with that and trying so hard to keep people down. It's inspiring when folks speak out and share their stories and live authentically. That in itself is a form of rebellion.
I rebel for nothing less than total liberation means I don't believe in reforming what is. I feel like there needs to be total abolition, like the removal of the prison system, of policing, of ICE, and of all of the borders that separate and oppress us, that people can have real and true autonomy. And that means taking out all of the hierarchies that exist within capitalism, within white supremacy, and within the colonial state that we live in.
The words.
So those are just a few of the examples that I had. And it was really powerful because it's not just like queer artists and trans artists, there are different people who are affecting the community in powerful ways. The person who just spoke, Beck Martins, is one of the team members of the LGBTQ youth org, Youth Outright. So to be able to do this type of art-centered collaboration was really fantastic, and also led to future Youth Outright collaborations with Southern Equality Studios, which I think is so important, trying to highlight to young people how art can be a place of safety as well as a place of connection with themselves and with others. So,
I rebel because...
Okay, so another thing that I did with skill set is during COVID, we created this activism centered class. So we taught kids how to utilize not Photoshop, but Photopea or Photopea, depending on how you want to read it, but it's Photopea, and the interface is very similar to Photoshop. I don't know how they're not sued by now, but it's on a website, so you don't actually have to worry about downloading software. In case you ever are like, I wish I had Photoshop, but I'm a student. So we had different students, they utilized Photopea, and they took these photos of themselves and what was concerning them for the future, which I think is really powerful, and also to give them that tool to express themselves and advocate. And we called this class Shifting the Lens. And I did that with Leslie Rosenberg, who I did another project with, Homesick. I did that with Leslie as well as Ethan Schultz. We basically wanted to figure out what to do now that the Vance Monument was gone. How are we going to try to envision the future of Asheville? And we figured, how are you going to have a future in Asheville if you can't afford to live in Asheville? So we spoke to different people within the community, people who had housing insecurity, people who were real estate agents, folks who were, completely houseless. And we just interviewed them on what their idea of home was and, what it would take for them to feel safe in a home. And so this is a little snippet of what it looked like. It was at Pax Square where parents used to be. I did not make this video, but I really loved it. So there's projection.
So they took up, I don't know how many houses, lots all around the community, 1,500 perhaps people.
Wanted to come to Asheville, wanted to see the leaves change, wanted to see the mountains. But nobody would ever bring me on vacation or anything. So I'm 59 years old, homeless in Florida. So I said, shoot, I'd be homeless in Asheville. So I called a Greyhound bus, one-way ticket to Asheville with a suitcase.
What home means to me, the concept of home, what home means to me, what home means to me, what home means to me, what home means to me,
The concept of home.
That was a part of the Art in the Heart program. They had, rotating artists take up that space. I think we were just there for, October, November. And we also took this, project in various spaces, not just Pax Square. We brought this into Revolve, and we had people create fly signs, which are the signs that people are holding on the side of the road. And, there were, I don't know if it's still on the books, but at one point there was some type of, a policy, city policy that said if you were holding a sign asking for money that you could be fined. It's expensive to be poor, right? It was pretty ridiculous. So these are some of the creative ways that people did not, explicitly ask for help, but you know, you just see somebody holding a sign, you can tell that they most likely need help. So that was one great way that they skirted that. And we also had, on the pedestal that was in Pax Square as well as here, we had a "Where is your home?" Prompt that people were able to fill out. What does home look like to you? What does home feel like to you? And people, they filled out various answers from in my bed to Gaza. We also took this to Rehab, which is at Lake Eden, a part of the Black Mountain College Museum's programming, which was really awesome. And I hope that I get to get incorporated into this again in some other capacity. And we basically just had people write what they thought about home and where they feel safe. Another thing that I've done is with Southern Equality Studios, I created some murals. And the murals I was really proud of because not only is it just a mural, but there's also a QR code that would take people to learn about our program, Southern Trans Youth Emergency Project, which is a navigational tool when people, they need to learn about how they can find a healthcare provider that will provide gender affirming care, to how can I find some financial aid with looking for gender affirming care. Like I need financial help just getting gas money to go to a different state, much less like a different county, sometimes a different time zone altogether. And yeah, with the Southern Trans Youth Emergency Project, it's been incredibly amazing to see how many people have been helped within the short time it was introduced, which I think started in 2023. And unfortunately, because we live in the country that we live in, Southern Trans Youth Emergency Project has now just become Trans Youth Emergency Project because there are so many states that have created anti-trans legislation targeted at youth. So I had that QR code and it got tagged. And then it got, also the URL got tagged by some really ridiculous, it was stupid. And so somebody did a counter tag that says lame. I'm like, thanks for the support, I guess. So, yeah, this is one of the murals. And when it got tagged, we decided that we needed to cover it up. And like, it was an invitation because initially we thought we were just gonna be there for like maybe 3 months. So I'm like, well, it has been 3 months, so, you know, let's do this. Let's create a new image. So, before that happened, we also utilized that image for a book of affirming messages that we included in this care package that we distributed to different LGBTQ youth orgs and GSAs, as well as healthcare providers like counselors in schools, as well as therapists and places like Western North Carolina Community Health Center, like places like that. They were like, we'd love to have this in our offices. So it was really cool to see how all of these ideas that were invited initially from like just these folks via Zoom, how it's grown to like people from, I don't know what that says, Florida. I think that's supposed to be Australia. Anyway, how it has grown to have people from around the world bring in all these messages and to share it in places that I think is really impactful. Has been a really awesome experience, and I did the design for that book, which was pretty fun and cool in its own way. I think there's like 60 something pages worth of messages and at like 12-point font. So I'm like, this is a nice dense book that people can just put in their back pocket, literally, like it's pretty small. So anyway, after the mural was vandalized, we put in a new mural, and it says, keep your chin up. And we also had like a few snippets from those pages of the book incorporated into this mural. And it was really nice. I'm so happy that we were able to replace it and it didn't get tagged. So that was really cool. And this was like a little process of the first mural. This was the first mural I've ever made, and I didn't know what to do, so I went into the office and I printed out 100 and something pages, like just office paper, 8.5 by 11 to create this mural. And so you can see this time lapse of people installing it one sheet at a time. It was like a true work of love. Labor of love. And then this is an improvement because I actually learned where I can go and order like large sheets of paper. And instead of it getting tagged Halloween happened, this is the foundation. And this is where the mural, well, I mean, technically it still is, but it's so, yeah, it's just really heartbreaking and shocking, as you all, I'm sure, have experienced in different ways. Yeah, we'll see what the next iteration of the mural is. I don't think it will be there, but that was just something that has been sitting on my heart. It's also kind of wild because the two large sheets of paper that has disintegrated, but the You Are Powerful is still like coming through. So I'm like, I think that might mean something. Anyway, this is another image that I've created, and it just kind of reminds me of learning from your past, learning from your history, and just seeing how we can rise above and how we can continue on and also call out call out inequity, inequality, bigotry when we see it. This is in Columbia, and that's John Kerman, who was the oldest serving senator, and who was also a pro-segregationist who wound up having an illegitimate child who was black, because that's Columbia. I think he was like 94 when he died, and that's when they found out about his illegitimate child. So, learning about the history of how people have been marginalized and have been attacked in various means. We wanted to capture this time with the book Trans Kids Are Kids. I designed a cover with Campaign for Southern Equality members, Alexis Stratton, well, that's our grant writer, very amazing person. Adam Gillespie, who does comms, and Jasmine Beach Ferreira, who is the executive director of Campaign for Southern Equality. They worked on this book, and they basically interviewed like 60, no, I want to say maybe 50 people in various areas. We had trans youth, of course, and caregivers, but we also had like healthcare providers, we had attorneys, we had people who created like affirming summer camps for folks, like LGBTQ youth. We also had, in Columbia, it really like lifts my heart to know that there are people who are making like safe space dinners for people who were, who had housing insecurity, especially because LGBTQ youth are such a large proportion of the houseless in the US. So they created this safe space dinner that's kind of like a potluck for kids. They can come in and get food and like feel seen and safe. Well, they get a little nourishment. So all of those types of stories are collected in this book that just came out. The book was first proposed in October of 2023, and then the book was completed and released in, I want to say July of this year. So it was like a really quick turnaround through big publishing. And I've been doing a 15 book tour with the writers, except for Jasmine. So yeah, actually when I first got here yesterday, I told a few people this. I left Charleston, which was our stop, at 4:30 in the morning to be here, because I'm very excited to see you all, and I'm very excited about this opportunity. And it's also been so amazing to meet up with different people around the country who care about LGBTQ equality and affirming. And these are some of the photos from different locations, like we were in Richmond, Virginia. We were also in Boston. We were in Charleston, Columbia. Columbia was great, actually. And anyway, while we're doing that, we're also holding a resource center every Thursday at the Campaign for Southern Equality location, because we need community, especially during these really trying times. This is a response to Halloween and also a response to the election. So this is like a little art table that I created just for people to make letters to their future selves, you know, trying to find where they can get a little bit of hope. And also there's an invitation, just make something. You don't even have to make a letter to yourself, because we're just trying to survive right now. We also had free haircuts available for folks, as well as like a really delicious hot lunch for people, and places where they can get warm clothing, space heaters, and other things that you might have come across at donation centers created because of response to Halloween. Aside from doing the book tour, I've been incorporating art by having another way that people can still share messages to trans youth. And these are some of the cards that we've had with this traveling installation, which is usually like the backdrop or somewhere in the bookstores where we've been touring. It just has been growing with all the different stops, and it's been really sweet to see people who are doing doodles or writing words, or just, you know, using the simplicity of the sticker to show solidarity. I also created a companion piece to go along with this tour that everybody who came there received. And inside of this companion piece, there's some interactive elements like a crossword puzzle and a maze illustrating the different obstacles that trans youth and caregivers are encountering. But also this image that's on the left, it's something I just wanted to share with folks who attended, and it's an image of people just being exhausted, just trying to feel safe and feel loved and energy during this time. And the caption is, "We know this is a journey that can be exhausting, but understand that you are not alone. You're loved by so many who will tirelessly work to uplift, affirm your truth, and celebrate the beautiful person you are." And it was incredible to see how that connected and resonated with definitely some of the scared trans members who were coming into the audience. Another thing that I guess since I'm coming towards the end, I wanted to highlight that right now, I feel as though people would probably be talking about like where they are in art right now, and now that the tour is coming to an end, I'm just trying to deal with the grief that's happened with Helene and the loss of my friend from Helene. That's my friend Knox, and that's the road that overflowed and took him and his fiance and his 2 future stepsons. So, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to keep navigating all of this, and being in space with y'all and with other people has been really helpful. And it's been a reminder that there's so much out there that can bring joy and can bring resilience, and this is definitely an example of being here. I'm also just I'm just exploring grief a little bit with some of my personal work, so I can find that balance between the dark as well as the light, like creating those images, the posters, and art spaces in the community center, the resource center. So that's why I'm trying to hold on to sanity right now, and just finding different ways to find space to document and find spaces to heal and feel the different aspects of existence. This is Carrier Park in Asheville as well. And I'm not exactly at an hour, I'm sorry. So this is just like a reminder. I know everybody felt 2020 like big time, big feels, big reactions, and this is a reminder for resilience.
Individual and collective creativity helps us to
just,
reimagine this world. In this time of COVID and the uprisings and movement, it feels important more now than ever. Individual and collective creativity helps us to reimagine this world.
So that's a little snippet from installation that I had at Revolve when I was invited to be like a resident artist there. And it was during 2020, and it's an insane feeling time during 2020. So that was kind of an illustration of what was going on in my head, all the different ways that people were dealing with the pandemic and the uprising. And so this video is just a little example of some of the photos that I took of the different artists. Some were from queer artist meetups, some were just people who answered a call to connect, even if we had to be masked up, to show the art and the creativity that kept them going during these really scary and divisive times. And these are some of the artists who were featured. And this is like not the original pace of the installation. I sped it up like four times the speed for this talk. But yeah, it's just a reminder, like things might seem really brutal. Things are brutal right now, and we'll find a way to keep going. And like we went from a time when we were scared to even like breathe in the same room to this space. So I'm just trying to find like the little bits of hope, the little threads of resilience. I want to be resilient, but I gotta, especially for my friends who need these spaces. And yeah, these are just some of the artists who had their art projected onto them. And here is an example of one of the interviews. And it's only a minute, so I'm almost done. Oh, I guess I could read it out to you. What a trip and a cosmic joke to feel short of breath in these times. I wish for a lot lately in the absence of free movement. I squint tight and cross my fingers and toes for the big crumble of systems that harm and silence for dignity and humanity restored. For futures that look bountiful and connected. Some afternoons I get mired in the pit of wondering if we can anticipate the triumph of good without seeming like imaginative children.
I took the phrase, art has been both difficult to create and absolutely necessary because I think a lot of us are struggling with a sense of urgency to document what's happening in our world and what's happening to our friends, what's happening internally. At the same time that there's so much overwhelm of information that can block us from creativity. So yes, it's been hard to reach for that place, but also it feels like now more than ever we need more art to, reflect the time that we're in.
So that was my friend Susan Aliff, Susan Aliff, and yeah, it's just a reminder that I'm holding on to right now. Like even if you feel at all during like your critiques or when you're talking to your family about how you're an artist and they're like, I don't get it. Like know that it's still so important for y'all to keep creating, just for your own well-being and also for the people who do get it, to see like your work, it's incredibly impactful and inspiring. And yeah, that's basically just my invitation to keep being the weirdos that you are, and this is what I made after the election. It's for Swanatopia, so I think it's on brand. If you don't know about Swanatopia, check them out. They're in Swananoa, and they're really rad, and they're into weird stuff. And I'm like, these are weird times. Let me go and lean into the weird, my weird freak. Just to realize, this is kind of an invitation to really just lean into what we think might not work, it just might work. So anyway, thank you very much for having me, and that's it.
Anybody have any questions for Liz?
Comment. I just love, Liz, I love how you integrate text and photographs and how you're able to take this like being anxious as a kid and being outsided and being able to create as a way of bonding with other people and seeing them and being part, and that evolving into this beautiful way of being in community and being like an agent of social change that's very visible, but where you can still have your work out there being visible for you, but you get to still like honor yourself in your ways, and just powerful work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Questions? All right. Liz, thank you so much. It's great.